What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live. I will be joined by my co-host, Jonathan Holder, here in a little bit. He had some technical difficulties that he's trying to get straightened out, and hopefully that'll create a smoother show for the rest of the time that we are here with you today. But hey, check it out. It is like the NFL's back, like Willie's saying here. He says the boys are back. Yes, sir. Like we aren't like, okay, our boys ain't back just yet. They'll be back tomorrow. But I didn't want to hold off on a show for another week just because our guys weren't technically back today. So I figured there's a few little things that we can talk about. And I figured, hey, why not, right? Why not just jump on here, chat with y'all, and have a good time. So, without much further ado, let's just get into it. All right. Yeah, I don't know about no wrestling muscles. I'm showing you that I'm hot. That's about all right there. It has been a hot few days here in the ATL. Now, temperature wise, not as hot, but definitely a lot more humid than it has been with the threat of rain. And then today, I got the pleasure of driving up to, for some, enemy territory in the campus of Clemson, South Carolina. But I had to drive all the way up there in a box truck that had no air conditioning. So, yeah, it was a little warm. But enough about that. Y'all didn't come here to hear me talk about my experiences driving a box truck. So the NFL is kicking off its training camp this week. Our guys will be back in tomorrow. The coaches reported today, so vets and rookies will be in tomorrow. So there have been times where we have gotten like the vets like a day before. There he is. There's my co-host.
What up, guys? What up? Sorry about that.
Oh, you're all good. You're all good. I was just saying that our guys will be reporting tomorrow.
Yep.
In years past, you've had where vets reported a day or so before the rookies. Well, this time you're getting both vets and rookies reporting on the same day. So for those who are like hip to the social media game, keep an eye on your favorite social media platforms, whether that's X or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or the twit faces or whatever you want to call it. Because you should be seeing, good walk up pictures tomorrow morning. And so, a side note, you had the Panthers walk. They put out some videos today, and somebody should have stopped Bryce Young from wearing a backpack because he looked like he was going into his senior year of high school. Like somebody should have been like, "Dog, look." I mean, because he had jean shorts on and a t-shirt and tennis shoes, and he had a backpack, and he looked like he was going to school. And I was like, man, that is not helping your image, sir.
Little Munchkin going in for his freshman year.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Dre Murphy says, he says, hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? Feeling this nice, hot, pretty Tuesday afternoon. Preseason is right around the corner. He brings up the point where me and you were talking about August 1st is the Hall of Fame game.
It is.
And we play our first preseason game the 9th of August. So this time, like a week from Thursday, keep in mind, a week from Thursday, you will have live NFL football action. And I know it's Hall of Fame game. is preseason, but there will be live NFL action come next Thursday, and that's pretty cool.
Yes.
That gets me pumped up right there.
Well, I
Um,
will say this: this is also the time of year that is probably the most terrifying for me
mm,
when it comes to any NFL season. Like this time of year is, terrifying because you got guys coming into camp. It's not quite the issue that it used to be, where everybody would come in. A lot of people would come in like out of shape, and the whole point of training camp was to get people in shape. And this is much more of a year-round profession. Guys are generally keeping themselves in shape uh, throughout the year, so it's not quite as big a deal. But if you're going to have guys that come up with like hammy injuries, a lot of the soft tissue stuff early on it is where it seems to happen the most. And then as you move through, people and the bodies get used to things. It becomes less and less. It can happen anytime, but this is
mhm.
the time that I worry about it the most. Like day one of training camp, let's go. Your starting quarterback tore his ACL just running on the field or something like that, and you're like, oh, what?
Well, it's like okay, like what you're talking about with the soft tissue stuff. Um, 49ers first round pick Ricky Pearsall injured his hamstring and will open up training camp on the physically unable to perform list.
Yeah,
And it's not just him per se. I'm trying to see if I can. I mean, that's something. This first day of camp going, the thing that you have seen the most is okay, who's physically unable to perform, who's holding out for contract reasons, who's getting a contract adjustment so that they don't hold out, and then like who's getting a new contract like all the way around.
right.
So like here, a guy that we were kind of pining for over the offseason, Hassan Reddick. The Jets traded for him in April, and he's not reporting to camp over his contract. Um, so then you have, let's see, there have been other ones that are, I've seen like a list of, players who are unable to form. Like Jordan Love will not practice until he will not get on the field and practice until the two sides work out a contract. Like it's kind of like the new thing, which is instead of a hold out, they're kind of like having a hold in.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's like I'll be there, I'll be in your meetings, I'll do, the all the non football stuff, the mental, I'll do the
The
mental stuff.
yeah, not the non-physical stuff.
Yeah, but the non physical or like the physical stuff, you know, not going to not going to do until I get, guarantees. But then you have, guys like Matthew Stafford who, gets an adjustment on his contract to, get him into camp. Same thing with Amari Cooper. And that brings the question like you just saw today, um, yeah, just reported or just the guy just retweeted it. So thank you, Ari Mervarvi. I can't remember. I don't know how to say his last name. Anyway,
Mirov, I think is what it is.
yeah, Mirov. So the Jaguars and cornerback Tyson Campbell have agreed to a 4-year, $76.5 million contract extension, which makes him the seventh highest paid cornerback in the NFL. Why is that a big deal? Because, as Willie's saying here, do we have any Falcons holding out? No, we don't. But we have a couple Falcons, or at least one Falcon, that is definitely in line for a new contract, and that's AJ Terrell.
Yes.
So when you see somebody like a Tyson Campbell, who's coming off somewhat of a down year last year for himself, getting re upped, it makes you wonder, okay, well, what's the plan with AJ? Or do you think, um, that they're making a mistake by not signing him yet? So
Yep.
that's a Uh,
Well, it always comes down to, do you sign him now, and potentially either overpay him, or it can go on to as you either end up overpaying because maybe the guy gets injured, maybe the guy just falls off the cliff or something like that, or you pay him now and it looks better as time goes on because the guy overperforms maybe the contract. That, but and if you wait around long enough, yeah, you're going to have issues.
yeah, like to me, if it would have been me and I was, Terry Fontenot, I would have tried to sign him last year, and especially in a year when you weren't paying big money for a quarterback, and tried to get some of that, money eaten up to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, but I look at LA's scheme the last couple years, and they haven't really had like a dominant corner. So maybe it's a deal where they feel like a Ron Rivera in a sense. I don't necessarily need a dominant corner, and not saying AJ has been absolutely dominant, but he's been a good corner. He's been better than average, and he's a homegrown talent in the fact that you're the one that drafted him. So it's just interesting that what they've chosen, to do with AJ thus far.
Yeah, as Dre Murphy was saying, and believe me, I've been friends with him for many, many years, and it gets me every time too. So JR pronouncing the name
I
gets me
say,
every time.
I hope nobody ever takes it personal. Like I really do, because like I'm not good at pronouncing names. Um, I hardly ever forget a face. But remembering names and saying, unless it's the most plainest of plain names, like Willie and Dre, and you know these names I've heard a million times over.
Yeah.
But until you ought to see me when I'm uh like trying to go through the Old Testament. Holy Pete,
Nope.
it is like, yes, and they went to the village of because I ain't got it, or like some of those like fantasy novels back in the day we used to read.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, no, dog. I will see the word. I will acknowledge it. It will be put to
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, well, so like I remember, I read probably at that time up to like wherever it was at the time. Before the author passed away, but it was the Wheel of Time series.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I remember like one of the main factions in that series is a group of women that are called the Aes Sedai.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember the first time I actually heard somebody pronounce it. I think it was in an audiobook that I got. I heard them say it the way it's supposed to be said, apparently. And but I was like, that is not even close to the way that I said it.
Exactly. So yeah. Pronouncing names has never been one of my strong suits. Jay Black says, ATL rise up. That's right.
Rise up.
We are doing just that. Fred Butt says, how are y'all? We're doing pretty good, Fred,
Yeah.
on a Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening. Doug says, welcome back, fellas. Yeah, appreciate y'all. We should be, now that we're getting into training camp, it should be more like steady
Yes. Yes.
as far as our shows go. Tony Rice says, what's the word, pound for pound?
Bird.
Yep,
Bird is the
yep,
word.
bird is the word. And also the word is, if y'all are bored, we were talking about preseason, the 17th of August at Benchwarmers in Stockbridge, Georgia. A lot of your favorite content creators are going to be getting together like we try to do once a year, once or twice a year. And this time we're going to get together and try to watch the Falcons and Ravens preseason game. So
That'll be game two.
yes, I believe that is game 2. Yes. Um, because again, that one's not here. So, uh, yeah. So if y'all are around the Stockbridge area, or if you don't mind driving, some folks Some folks do, some folks don't. The last two times we've gotten together, it's been on this side of town, the either Hiram or near the stadium down there with the Brave Stadium. So this time it'll be more on the south side of town. So if y'all are in the area, somebody will be there starting around 11. Game kicks off at noon on Sunday the 17th. So if you're there, come by, say hi, hang out, eat some good food, make fun of me and or Big Low if I end up being there. I know Big Low will be there for sure. So he's the one kind of spearheading this one. So
Hold on. I like this one. Another PR. Hello, everyone. Just waking up from hibernation.
yeah, that's right. That's
That,
right.
that,
Exactly.
it feels
Like
like because I think we've before today we did one show in the last month. It feels like.
yeah, it's probably about right. We probably done one show in July because July was kind of a busy month, so I was on vacation and out of town, and
Yep.
so yeah, you're probably right. We probably have done one show in the month of July, but like I said, maybe we can get back into to more of a regularly scheduled. And I know that we're going to try to like live stream like us watching the preseason game. At least that's something we had talked about.
Yes.
So I'd have to
And
go back
there's
and
something we want to try with if it's still available. I don't know if it's on a per game base. Like, is it only doing it for? It will be available for every game? Is it only certain games, or what? But like the next gen stats
right the next gen
site.
stats. Let's see, Atlanta Falcons. Um, so let's see. Hold on, let me get this up first, and then we'll do a better job of transitioning. So yeah, the first preseason game will be the 9th of August. Hey, it's a day before my birthday. So that'll
Yep.
be a Friday. So yeah, we'll definitely stream that one. And then we probably won't stream the Ravens game if I end up getting down to bench warmers. Um, or Jonathan might stream it and chat with y'all. But then the last one is the 23rd of August, and that is what day is that on? That's on a Friday as well, so at 7 p.m. So yeah, we'll definitely stream the first and the third preseason
Yep.
game. Tony saying at Benchwarmers there will be a special area where the great Bigelow will be at
Signing
the.
autographs.
That's right, signing autographs. That's right. Um, so yeah, if y'all are in the area, we'd love to hang out with y'all. Like I said, I'm gonna do my best to make it down there. But we'll see. That's on a Sunday. So we'll see how that goes. Um, let's see. All right. Now want to transition into I'm gonna try to get this pulled up. Should have been a little bit more on my game, but I was not.
Gotta knock the rust off.
That's right. That's right. All right, let's see. I'm gonna do this. So I don't know how much any of y'all actually care about the NFL's top 100, right? Part of me is like, I don't. It doesn't mean much of anything, and it doesn't, right? It holds no bearing. Nobody's contract is tied to
Nah.
any
But
kind of
but
top
but
100.
but it is like a peers thing, right? Like
Right. It's
because it's all
supposedly like peer voted on, but I've seen like the list. What they do is they give players supposedly a piece of paper and they fill out their top 20 and then they average them out and come up with a ranking in that aspect. So the first one that dropped out of the top 100 was Chris Lindstrom at number 88.
Hmm.
And a lot of like the instant reactions of like, of course, Falcons fans like, "Oh, that's bullshit. That's it's way too low." And I'm like, but he's a guard,
Yeah.
like I know he's like arguably one of the better guards in the league, but he came in higher or lower, however you want to. He came in at a better spot than Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah.
So I would say this: at least he's like getting recognized. The fact that a guard is making it any O lineman, but an O lineman generally, if you're talking about an O lineman, we're talking about like a left tackle. You know, the blind side protector. Generally, that's the
Yep.
glamorous O lineman. So the fact that a right guard is getting the accolades that he has been getting, I was actually kind of happy to see him there.
Yeah. He's absolutely earned it. He's been nothing but he's been as billed basically since day one. I mean, even his rookie year, he was you know he might, I think maybe like first game, but pretty much like from day one, he's been super duper solid and has done nothing but get better
Right.
through his career so far. So
I mean, and then like what was it was it last year or the year before last that he got his contract? I can't remember.
I think it
So it's
was year
either
before.
either way, like when he got his contract and he became like the highest paid guard in the league, we were like, yeah, duh. Um, he's has he gotten a Pro Bowl nod yet? I think he did last year, didn't he? 'Cause I seem to
I
remember
think
like an image in my head of Chris Lindstrom at the Pro Bowl. Um, so like he definitely should be getting Pro Bowl nods and All Pro nods because like right now he is like the standard as far as guards go. As far as like
he was it was actually his second Pro Bowl.
okay, yeah, perfect, perfect, yeah,
Second straight season he went to the Pro Bowl.
right. As he like yeah, like I said, he's been the stalwart. And so okay, so then that leads us to the next one, which obviously we haven't seen him play for us yet,
Yeah.
but Chris Lindstrom, no Chris,
BC.
yeah, Chris Lindstrom went to Boston College.
Yeah.
So that's another Falcons ring of honor probably coming from Boston College.
Yep.
So, but Kirk Cousins has yet to sling the rock for us in a meaningful way, but that still doesn't stop him from being number 81 on the list, even with a shortened season last year. Um, it's, I was gonna say, it's remarkable, like really, for Kirk Cousins to be where he's at in this business. Like the man's a fourth round QB
Mhm.
behind, like picked in the same draft as like the number one overall QB pick, and the fact that he's actually been able to make it and establish himself as a better than average quarterback and have the longevity that he's had is pretty remarkable. If you stop and
Yeah.
think about the bust rate of QBs and things of that nature, the fact that Kirk Cousins is on this team and is still nobody blinked an eye at an $180 million contract. Not really. They were just like, oh yeah, that makes sense for him. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody ever argued that the contract he wasn't worth the contract. It was always and even once we signed him, people were like, all right, cool. But it wasn't until the Penix pick that everybody was like, well, wait a second.
Yeah, that's where it started getting dicey.
Yeah.
And as I say that, I just look over at my Twitter feed and Pro Football Network. Which NFL team has the worst contracts on their roster? Kirk Cousins, 4 years, $180 is sitting right there.
Yeah.
But that's got to be in light of with the Penix thing, right?
Yeah.
Because before that, wasn't nobody really caring. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
No. Like he looked. He's like he is like, I'm not sure what Baker Mayfield got, but
Uh, he's definitely worth
but
more than Bayfield for sure,
yes,
and
yes,
he's worth more than Carr.
yes,
Uh, so like Atlanta Falcons, Fandemic, I like that name, Fandemic. Um,
yep,
he says we got Kirko cheap, real cheap, all things considered. All things considered, like if you really look at the structure of it, it's a 2-year, $90 million contract. Like,
yeah.
and that's what's important, right? The structure of the contract is what's important. Nick says, "You like that? We're gonna see. We're gonna see if we like that. We're gonna see."
Yeah,
Um,
we are going to see.
so now the question remains: who do you think? Are there any other Falcons that you think are going to appear on this list before it's all said and done?
I think Grady Jarrett does.
Okay, so you think Grady does?
Yep,
Because
I
I
think
think
Grady.
Grady gets overlooked quite a bit.
Yeah, but I think he does. I think he makes it. I think So I'll say Grady Jarrett. Um, maybe the only other guy I can really see being on here would probably maybe be Bijan Robinson.
Well, see, I think for me, I think the solid, like definite for sure is gonna be like Jesse Bates. I could
Oh
see
yeah, yeah,
I could see Jesse Bates making it, and then the only one past Jesse Bates may be Bijan, right? But he's just coming into his second year. Um, if Bijan makes it, it's in the next grouping, because so like if Kirk's 81, then I would imagine Bijan, if he's there, would be in like the high 70s. Same thing with Jared, right?
yeah,
Um, I think the only person who has a chance of being like a top 50, however you want to like phrase that, 50 and down, like 50 to 1, um, would be Jesse Bates. Like I think he's the only one that has like the full respect of the league.
yeah,
I guess is the way I would say that. I don't think I think next year after this season, I think next year like Drake London and Kyle Pitts may be on there or have a better chance of being on there after they have some, solid productive quarterback play.
yeah. So like I could see I could see the total amount of guys from the Falcons being on this list being Lindstrom, Kirk, uh, I still say Jarrett, Robinson, and Bates in that
Yeah.
order as far as like
Yeah,
kind
descending the
of
way they're
sitting
doing
down to
it. Yeah.
number one.
PR's telling you to get more sleep, Jonathan.
No, it's my something's like making my eye burn. I'm like, oh my god,
That ain't no fun.
no.
Well, hopefully it'll slack off here soon. Um, so now the next thing that I've wanted to get to, but we haven't had the shows to do so yet. So I figure today kind of being um the last like fluid show, I guess, like more open show.
Yeah.
Because next week will be more of a hey, what we see over at camp and da 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 da. But anyway, so a couple weeks ago, floating around the intro webs was uh what your Mount Rushmore was. So let me see if I can get again my top notch crack being prepared here. Trying to get a cool picture of Mount Rushmore. We'll go this way. Does this? Yes, that works perfect. That'll be good. Let's get this. Let's get this going. Until we get then, Willie Doc, we appreciate you greatly. Look at
Thank you,
that,
Willie.
Jonathan was on it. He says, "Thanks for a chill stream. Aside from injuries, what would make you say, oh no, we're in for a long season, coming out of training camp?" The only thing that I would say, for me to be like, okay, we're in for a long season, outside of injuries, would be if you just start hearing like, oh man, like Kirk is all over the daggone place,
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
Penix is outshining Kirk at every turn. Not that I think that that's bad. It's just it would be eye roll inducing. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
it's like, okay, fine. If Penix is going to outshine him, why do we spend 180 million or $90 million or whatever? You know what I'm saying? That's when those things are going to start to creep up. I would much rather it stay the course. Kirk is in command, looks awesome. Penix is making strides, looking awesome as well. But Kirk is the clear, you know, QB1. And then the other thing that would make me go, oh, for we're in for a long season, is if we start hearing like none of these, like D Lyman, the Dorless and Trice and or Ruru, Rook, uh, are able to push their way up. You know,
yeah.
uh,
But I agree. Like, but having both those, either one of those situations, or even both, like if you're not seeing anything, I don't necessarily mean like they got to be dominant,
right?
but if you're not hearing anything good from some of those names on the defensive side, or Kirk Cousins, which I don't think we're going to have to worry about Kirk Cousins. I
No,
don't think he's going to be the problem. But if there were to be an issue where he was just not able to, um, it just for whatever reason, this was his cliff. Like, this offseason was his cliff, and he just fell off it. Then I would be kind of like, oh man,
yeah, because then that's I don't care how you want to slice it.
yeah,
You'll end the team itself will end up with egg on his face.
oh yeah,
Because people are gonna be like, there's gonna be like the spinners out there that are gonna be like, oh, well, see, good thing they drafted, Michael Penix, and I'm like, then you're just gonna be looking like almost like Seattle back in the day. And if Penix goes on to like play like early Russell Wilson, again, nobody will care, right?
I mean,
But
yeah, if you win a Super Bowl in his second season
nobody
starting,
will care, right?
nobody's going to care.
But like even to this day, we still talk about Matt Flynn getting the money that he got to then get beat out by Russell Wilson. So
Yep.
if it happens, it happens. But I think I'm with Fandemic here. It says if Kirk can't establish team chemistry throughout the team, like the 2016, we're in for a long season. Um, I don't know if they is going to be able to reproduce the chemistry of 2016 as far as our team goes, but I fully expect like if we're hearing like some frustrations, from our wide receiver core, our tight end / wide receiver Kyle Pitts, which I find that to be funny. Everybody gets, no, he's going to be cross trained. He's done that every year.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why this is like I don't know why the NFL like media page made it a story and I'm like, you can go back and look at his splits. He has spent less time in line than he has in the slot or out wide.
Yep.
So that's nothing new there. All right.
They like apparently like there was something where Zach Rowan talked about like Pitts was like, yeah, he's learning the tight end position, he's learning this and that and the other, and people were like, oh my god,
Like it just went off, and I was like, I'm
I
sitting there
mean,
just
like,
shaking my head, like, what are we doing? He,
yeah,
he
I
does
mean,
this every year.
you can say what you want about how good of a coach Arthur Smith was or whatever. Dude was a tight end coach, so if nothing else, Kyle Pitts was learning how to play tight end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now,
So yeah, it was. Dre says, when do we start training camp? Tomorrow. Like, keep your eyes peeled on the twit faces and X books and how else can I mess that up? Instagrams. That's the
I
name of it. So
just stick with Twix.
yeah, keep your eye on the Twix. You'll start seeing the pictures of everybody rolling in. They won't do much nothing until probably Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
You might see some videos of stretching, but you probably won't see videos of anybody catching anything. Um, you know,
I
till the weekend.
this will probably be the first time in a while that I'll actually like try to tune into like NFL Network
Yeah,
and see if they have like this thing where they're looking in on the training camps for all the different teams
yeah,
and just kind of binge on
on
that for a while.
that should be on Saturday if I'm not mistaken. That's when they're back to school, so to speak. They're um starting together. I can They have some corny name for it.
Yeah.
But that's on Saturday.
Well, you know what
Um,
Saturday is, right?
you're what?
Saturday is uh, Deadpool and Wolverine Day for me. Like
Ah,
we've
well,
had tickets for like a month and a half for that
there
movie.
you go. Well, Saturday I'll be celebrating my wife's birthday. So her
Oh,
birthday
happy
is
birthday!
Thursday. Yeah, her birthday is Thursday, but we're gonna go celebrate it on the weekend.
What? Happy birthday, Bug.
That's it. Jay Black says, I expect there to be some small grumblings if things don't start off smoothly, but I will not be simple minded enough to get bent out of shape. New teammates and scheme never start out super smooth. That's part of the thing that I hope the fan base, like the idea of, signing a big ticket QB and then, you know, the expectations get raised up. But yes, you have to keep everything, like we're talking about, new QB on a new team with new coaching staff for the players that have been here. Like, you know,
Yeah,
you remember how it first looked with both Dan Quinn and Arthur Smith.
yeah. Like Dan quit that first year. Well, now, granted, that first year, like they started off really crappy. Uh, they ended the year really well.
Yeah, they
Uh,
ended. Yep.
so, like, I don't want that for this team this year. I want us to win. I want us to get a division win. Win the division, get into the playoffs. I want all that stuff. But again, kind of, I'm not going to necessarily say simple minded, but I'm not going to come out of it unless we come out of this year like 1-16 or 2-15 or something like that. Uh, then I'll be like extremely, extremely disappointed. But if we come out of this year and we're, I want to. I mean, this is what I say every single year. This is what I said every single year for Arthur Smith. But I wanted it to be compounded across the seasons, right? But that's what I want to see from any new coaching regime. Is doesn't matter how you start. Okay, you can start in the worst possible way, that you can. Get blown out first game, all this other stuff. If at the end of the year you're playing better and or in the playoffs or at least competing for playoff spots by the end of the year, nobody's going to remember or care about your blowout at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
It's going to mean the same as a 2-point loss or 3-point loss as a 30-point loss.
Yeah, they're saying opposite. We started out good with
Oh,
Quinn and
okay,
fell apart uh,
got it
at the
backwards.
end. Yeah, we got that backwards. Willie and Uncle Javon says opposite. Hey, hey,
Yep, yep.
good things backwards. Um, Pandemic says, what do you guys think about the latest signing, Julian Davenport? Dude, I thought we signed him a month ago. Like I swear that we spent time talking about the like UFL guys, and he was in that list, wasn't he? I guess they just didn't officially sign him until today.
Maybe
They must have just had him in because like I saw that come across my timeline, and I was like, dude, I swear, I spent time talking about this guy already. I mean, it's a good depth signing. Like, um, it's kind of like what has flown under the radar. I did a short video about it, but Austin Mack out of the CFL. Like that's a receiver that could make some noise as a number three. Like he really could come in and challenge like the Rondell Moores and the Ray McLeods because he's got size, contested catch ability, deep ball ability. So he's the guy I'm keeping an eye on. I even, like I said, I even did like a little 15-minute video on because I'd forgotten all about him. But yes, in that aspect, like
Don't,
Terry's
don't
been, huh?
yeah, don't forget about Casey Washington,
Right.
wide
Casey White.
receiver out of
Yep.
Illinois.
Like he's Terry's done really good at like the under the radar, but that's where he made his bones, right? The pro personnel. That's
Yep.
where Terry like cut his teeth for all those years down in New Orleans was on the pro personnel side. So it doesn't shock me that, you know, we've made good on some like under the radar signings, like the D Alfords and the, um, bringing in the like if hopefully Eddie Goldman actually makes it through
Uh,
camp and works out. That would be another, signing.
well, like he's done a really good job to the point to where when we bring a guy in, even if I've never heard of him, I generally expect him to be like not like a cog, not like an important piece of the machine, right? But I expect him to be a guy that can come in, can play ball, and can handle his business, and not just be completely outmatched
Right.
whenever he comes in, as long as he doesn't have to play like the whole game,
Right.
right?
Well, it's like Dre brings up a good point. He says, I'm still glad we got Storm Norton on the team after the
Yeah.
job. Like, nobody really knew much about Storm Norton. He comes in
No.
and does really well, uh, in McGarry's absence. So, um, yeah, like I'll perk up a little bit, at least for Terry Fontenot's tenure, when he brings in like pro guys, because D. Alford has been a success, and I'm really hoping that he strikes gold again from north of the border with Austin Mack.
Yeah.
All right. So Nick says, how long will the starters play in preseason? Um, that is something I can't answer, but it does bring up an interesting debate, or at least I think is an interesting debate. Y'all may just like snoozy Q on me, but it came out the other day that uh looking at the Falcons schedule, their training camp schedule,
Hmm.
it's going to be like a week shorter than normal. Meaning, uh, there's about a week's worth of practice that they're not going to get. So my question, I want to take Nick's question and kind of morph it into which one do you think is more important, a week of training camp or snaps in a preseason game? So, chat, I want y'all to jump in on that. As Fred asks, who do y'all want to see in the first preseason game? I want to see I'm excited to see Penix.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see um, the guys I talked about earlier, Trice, Dorless, Aurora. Like I want to
Yep.
see these guys in pads going full steam and seeing what they can do. That I'm excited about.
Yeah. I
Um,
like those guys: Bertrand, McClellan, Zion Lowe, Casey Washington. I want to see all of these guys playing. Live. Against live competition.
yeah,
It's not.
meaningful.
It's not regular season, but it's still you're going up against NFL talent now.
Right, right. Like how do you transition? How do you relate? Like how does it? Can you take what you've been doing at training camp and put it out on the field in something that makes it makes sense? So to my question earlier, which one do we feel like is more important? Training camp or preseason snaps? On a resounding snaps in preseason game. Nothing's more important than live reps. Uh, I think the games are more important. Um, Kirk should play a series or two, and snaps is like on the job training. So I guess okay. So here's my rebuttal. I guess I get the idea of live reps, right?
Hmm.
And which seems to be the what everybody's live reps. That seems to be what everybody's okay. You're going at full speed. You're in pads. You're doing full speed football things. But if you're working on what we're going to say it when we watch the game, right? Oh, this is vanilla. This is
Yeah.
vanilla as it gets. Okay, so what is vanilla reps doing for a football player that has been presumably been playing football since they were knee high to a grasshopper?
So it's different for different positions, but essentially, we'll just say for the quarterback, for example. Okay, yeah, he's been doing a lot of the stuff in the off-season program. He's been doing the OTA stuff. He'll be doing a lot of that in practice, where you're getting used to how guys run, how guys how they run their routes. Uh, working with them to maybe get him to run their routes a little bit differently, to try to mesh better with you, or vice versa. You do things a little bit differently to try to mesh with them. But I think that just the timing aspect, from an offensive perspective, the timing aspect is the thing that is most beneficial from a live rep situation. Because yeah, you could say, okay, we're doing it in practice, but when you're not doing it against somebody who's actively, yes, our defense is actively trying to stop them, but they're not going full tilt to the point where they're tackling them, hitting them, knocking them to the ground, trying to, doing all those things. They'll get close, but they're trained to in practice. They're trained to get close. If you can intercept it, cool. But otherwise, like you just touch the guy if he catches the ball.
Right.
So it does gets you the timing, but also gets guys used to getting hit again.
Yeah.
Like you're getting hit in practice, but it's you don't do that often in practice
Well,
these
see,
days.
I wonder why. I wonder if that's what some of those aspects is what you get, or what they feel like they get a more controlled version in the joint practices.
Yeah,
So I guess to modify the question, joint practice or preseason reps. So I myself, when it's an established starter, um, I'm not so much worried about. Now this year, I make all these statements, but this year I hope to see as many players playing as much as possible, because you are talking about a new regime, a new scheme, a new coaching staff trying to get familiar with how everybody moves. You're going to need as many reps and as many live reps as possible.
right.
So I agree that um, that you want as much as you can. So preseason would be very important. Fred says, "Do y'all see Penix playing at all in the regular season?" Uh,
Not unless we're getting blown out, we're blowing
or
somebody else
yeah,
out, or there's an
or
injury.
right. Like the only extended play that I think you're going to get out of Penix this year is if Kirk is hurt. So in that aspect, I don't think I would necessarily want uh, to see Penix, because that means Kirk is down, right?
Yeah. So
So go ahead.
I want to. So Willie put this out there: preseason reps greater than joint practice, greater than training camp. Uh, I think they're all good for different things, right? Joint practice is like the next step from live game. Uh, and depending on how things go, sometimes it can get a little bit chippy and get a little bit more physical than what you maybe wanted it to be. But that can happen. Uh, Live reps in a preseason game. I'm never going to say I don't want my guys to get into preseason games at all. Okay, I think that was a huge problem, and Arthur Smith immediately, the very
Yeah,
next
yeah.
season.
That's Trey saying there. Hardin Smith made by not playing his starters.
Now,
Uh,
what I will say is I will not be upset, and I challenge you guys to not be upset if they come out first game and let's say that there's problems, some minor injury issues with some of the offensive linemen or an offensive lineman or whatever, and maybe a couple of them can't go for that first preseason game. if you have two, especially two, now if it's just one, depending on who it is, it maybe changes. But if you get two offensive linemen that can't, like starting offensive linemen that can't go in that first preseason game, I do not want Kirk behind a
Yeah, especially not
mixture of first and second
right.
guys.
Yep.
So I would not start him then. But as long
Now
as that
Tyler
offensive
Heineke
line
can
can
handle
go,
that.
yeah, Tyler Heineke or Penix can handle that.
Right.
But either one, I wouldn't want to see that. But outside of that, like I want to see Kirk Cousins out there for, and if he comes out that first series, whether they score or not, okay, it doesn't really matter. But if it looks good, and
Hmm.
it passes that eye test, right? If it
Right.
passes the eye test, like the timing is there, maybe it went through the hands of your wide receiver, or just the defense made a really, really good play on it. Whatever the case may be, but it looked good, right? It looked crisp. It looks smooth. It looks like the timing's on. Then I'm happy, and you can get him out of there and then now get your evaluations on the other guys.
Right.
Okay, I'm totally fine with that. Um, but I do want to see Kirk and the starting offense. I do want to see as much as we possibly can, barring any injuries. I do want to see them play, meaningful snaps in the preseason
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah. I completely. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I want to see. I want to see them play. I want to see. I would love to see like a Kirk whip a seam route to Kyle Pitts and him score a touchdown. Like that would just cap it off. Get him out
Yep,
of there. That would be great.
yep, yep.
All right. So we have been running our mouths for almost an hour. Do you want to get into this Rushmore thing, or you want to put a bow on
Sure.
it? All right, let's do it. So this popped up a week or so ago on who you consider to be like your Mount Rushmore. Who's on your Mount Rushmore on? Uh, all right. Fred says you can't get excited about Kirk. Explain why. Because you have made the decision in your head that you don't like Kirk Cousins. But
Pretty much.
on the other side of that, you think Penix should be starting. I will say that what you should be doing is thinking to yourself, hey, for the first time in a couple years, we should have better than competent QB play. And that should take our offense to a level that it hasn't been in a while. So that should get you excited. And so
Yep.
that's all the help I can give you there, Fred. All right. So, Kirk, okay. Position one, right here, right at the face, right at the front.
Yep.
Who are you putting right there?
For
Putting
me,
in the George in the George.
it's got to be Matt Ryan. I think he's the best
Right.
player. I think he's the best player that has played as a Falcon,
Yes. Like this
uh,
is a
and,
Falcon
and and most
Rushmore.
successful Falcon. Okay, as a Falcon, he is
Right.
the most successful, and it is, in my opinion, like the face of the franchise essentially.
Yeah. Right. To me, I know a lot of people, and I'm gonna, and for me, I'll put him up there. But I know a lot of people will come up with a different name. But for me, the face of the franchise, when I think of Falcons, it's Matt Ryan. Before he came along, you didn't have back to back winning seasons. You weren't consistently talked about um, as being a contender. All that stuff came along with, and it started with and was able to happen because of the QB play of Matt Ryan. So
Yep.
that's who I'm putting right there. And I think Nick agrees with us. He says, Ryan. All right.
Yep.
Next on the list. Next going down in somewhat descending order. Who are you putting right here?
I mean, okay, so he didn't have his most success with us,
Hmm.
but I think you can't not have Mount Rushmore and not have Deion Sanders.
Right. Like the house that Dion built. Like
Yep.
he he did what no other player really could do as far as like bringing that level of electric excitement, to the city, right?
Yep.
And uh, so I completely agree that he needs to be second one on the list, even though he spent time with, other teams, the Niners, the Cowboys. Didn't even play with the Ravens for a little while.
Very end of his career, I think. Yeah.
Very into, but still, like, it still talks about like the house that Dion built. All right, so third on your list, who you putting
I
right there?
mean, right there, I'm putting the first draft pick the Atlanta Falcons ever made. It should be in the Hall of Fame, and that is Tommy Novus.
Tommy Novus, Mr. Falcon.
Yep.
Now I can make a case with Willie Doc with it being Vic. Like I can go with Vic either being here or here because in a lot of ways I think he did the same. He did the same thing that Dion did, like brought that excitement, brought that electricity
Mhm.
back to the city. But I'm with you, um, at least on the tail end here. Like one of these has to be Tommy Novus. When you have the name Mr. Falcon, like
Yep.
you're the first draft pick in franchise history. You were a great player in all rights, like you said, should be in the Hall of Fame. But I'm with you, Tommy Novus, and for me it'd be Tommy Novus and Michael Vick because of what all those players did for the franchise, right? So now Tony Rice says Matt Ryan, Claude Humphrey,
Hmm.
Tommy Novus, and Julio Jones. It's not a bad list. It's not a bad list. I definitely like throwing Claude Humphrey in there because he is in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Um, so I think that's. But then he says, "Oh, how did I forget about Dion?" Right? Yeah. Like we've had some players, right?
Yeah.
Dre Murphy says, Matty Ice, Michael Vick, Roddy White, and Julio Jones. I like that list, but to me that's a little bit too like if you were going to go for a modern Mount Rushmore, you
Yeah.
know, I think that would be a modern Mount Rushmore.
Well,
Um,
it's the same thing that's going to end. That it's the same reason why Tommy Novus is not in the Hall of Fame. It's the same reason why potentially some guy like a guy like Jesse Tuggle, who probably deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, is probably not going to be there. Is because they played on really crappy teams
yeah, just
for
bad,
their for most of their career.
right? That
Uh,
and that's
uh,
and unfortunately that hurts their legacy, right?
yeah,
Because this is an ultimate team game, right? Now, uh, James Carter says, "Does John Abraham count?" Like, I
uh,
mean,
he didn't start with the Falcons. He came afterwards. He's been the best pass rusher in my lifetime that we've had.
right?
I mean, I could see an argument for him, but that's not who I would put as my
Just like
fourth.
I wouldn't put Tony Gonzalez on there.
Right.
Like, even though Tony Gonzalez had some amazing, like, like into his career with the Falcons, I still see Tony Gonzalez as a Chief, and like I would imagine Chief fans would put Tony Gonzalez on their Mount Rushmore, even
Yeah.
though he finished his career, went to the playoffs with us, that kind of thing. I still see him as more of a Chief. Now Nick says Jamal Anderson. Now you talk about somebody like he kind of gave us our moniker with the Dirty Bird, you know.
Yeah.
So, um, so if you want to talk about like impact of lasting legacy, um, you know,
Yeah. But the problem is that he and like he kind of had, and he was not as quite as successful, but he
right,
kind of has the same problem that oh Denver Broncos running back Davis, something
Terrell
Davis,
Davis,
Terrell Davis,
hmm
just had such a short career.
right,
Jamal Anderson like had the one really good season in '98.
right,
Uh, Blew out his knee the next year, blew out the other knee the following year, and was never the same. And before that, he had some good years, but like I don't know if I could put him up on Rushmore. You
Right.
know,
Yep.
if I'm gonna if okay, so my four would be Matt Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Who did I pick as number two?
Novus. Tommy
Novus.
Novus.
No, well, he was number three.
Oh, three. No, you put uh who did you put right there? Crap. It was Matt. Oh, Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders. You put
Oh
Deion.
yeah, okay. Matt Ryan, Deion Sanders, Tommy Novus, and I would actually probably put Claude Humphrey
Okay.
in as number four. I would not put and people are going to hate on me for it. I would not put Vic on there because of how things went down with him.
Right. The
Uh,
tarnish of of the scandal. That's something that you
and I
definitely have to consider. Like,
and I fully understand, I
yeah,
was a biggest Vic fan there was prior to that, and like I wanted nothing but him to be what he was supposed to be with us. He just never was, and then not only the going to prison part, but then you find out when he gets done and he comes back for the Eagles and he has the success there, and then he starts talking about, yeah, I was never really in the playbook before, and just all
oh yeah,
the stuff
yeah.
that comes out later that you hear about from himself about how he
It's hard. It's
and
kind
on
of
top of that he flipped off the fans
yeah.
like going off the field one day in the Georgia Dome, he just straight up was like
Right.
that and just flipped off the fans.
It
So I
kind
was,
of it gives you like in a way like bad taste of like the way Julio left. You know.
yeah,
I can see that. Fandemic says Steve Barkowski and William
yeah,
Andrews started it all for me. So, that you could do. I could see where somebody would put a Matt Ryan, a Barkowski. I could definitely see somebody putting a Barkowski on there.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
he says for him, two defensive, two offensive. Barkowski, Jones, Tuggle, and Novus. Yeah, I mean Jones like it. Jones and Ryan have that Montana Rice debate.
Yeah,
Like you had to have somebody throw you the ball, but you had to have the ability to catch the ball and then do awesome things with it as well. So
yes.
in my mind, I can't say one made the other. I think like I can't separate them.
But I will say that I just like the four people that I put in there. I think are like I'm putting the best foot forward that I possibly can, that I want to represent the Atlanta Falcons, and so that includes because to this day Dion loves Atlanta still.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like he's never badmouthed Atlanta. He's never said
I've
anything about
I've
it.
heard him rep Atlanta more than I've heard him rep Dallas or San Francisco.
Yep.
And like there's arguably that you could say he had more success with those two franchises. Because didn't he win a ring with one
He
of
won a
them?
ring. He won a ring with the 49ers. He won a
Right,
ring with Dallas.
right. But he
So yeah, he
still like reps Atlanta.
yeah.
So, um, yeah. King gives you Vic, Julio, Dion, and Roddy. That's not bad. I still think the Roddy and Julio is still too like new ish or too fresh, so to speak.
If I was going to pick one of those two to put on to the to take somebody off and put on, I would personally pick Roddy to put up there over Julio, just because like he was a Falcon for life.
Mm-hmm.
He never went anywhere else, and if he had, I'd probably still put him up there. But like he's been a defender of Atlanta. He's been a guy who reps Atlanta
Yep.
even after his playing days.
From
It's just it's the lasting impact, and it's the taste left in your mouth
right,
of what they do post career or post leaving Atlanta, that kind of stuff. That for me is a big deal to me,
right, and
and it may
that's
not be a
like
big deal for other people, and that's perfectly
right.
fine.
And this is the ultimate like opinion thing. This is the ultimate like not ultimate, but this is a like straight up and down opinion because you're crossing generations. You're crossing like obviously I never watched Barkowski play. I never watched, Tommy Nobis. I've been on the show plenty of times telling y'all, like, and Jonathan could attest to it because it's his fault that I'm here. But, uh, like, my first and only quarterback that I have watched live is, Matt Ryan. Like,
Yeah,
I've gone back and watched, the stuff that Vic has done and things like that, and I can appreciate it. And I was in the city when that stuff was going on, but I wasn't a football fan, you know.
yeah,
So it wasn't something that really affected my life all that much. So, like, for me, if I took the historical aspect out of it, like, mine would be a 2008 on. It would be, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, uh, Roddy White, and possibly Grady Jarrett. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've often said that if I was going to spend money and buy another jersey, another player's jersey, it would be Grady Jarrett. Um, because, like, he is such a stalwart of a player to me.
but you look at a guy like Claude Humphrey, and this guy, unfortunately, he retired literally the year before sacks became an official stat.
Right, right. Yeah.
But if you go back and look at his career, he has an unofficial 126 and a half sacks.
Jeez.
So yeah,
That's
yeah. So I
nuts.
mean, you look at that, and like that's up there. That's up there
Yeah.
with some of the with the greats. So like I could not see not putting him on there.
Oh, here we go. Got somewhat of breaking news. Hold on. I'm gonna get this up
Oh,
there. So
oh,
it's not earth shattering. So don't
we
think it's
we
any of that.
we picked up Ayuk.
No shoot. No, we picked up. I would love to see, like, Justin Simmons, but anyway, and bam, that just released a couple
Oh,
minutes
okay.
ago. Jesse
Wow.
Bates is number 74. I thought he would be closer to the 50 line myself,
Yep.
especially after a career high 6 interceptions last year. I thought he would have been a lot higher.
On a not bad well now so here it shows that he was not ranked in 2023.
Okay.
So I thought for sure he was up there last year, but I guess if he wasn't ranked last year, 74 is not a good not a bad starting point.
Hmm. So yeah, no, that's not bad. I'm not gonna be upset at it, but yeah, I just, I always keep Twitter up just in case something happens. I always try to keep an eye on it. So yeah, he's ranked in there with Justin Herbert and Jeffrey Simmons, Garrett Wilson, and Laramie Tunsil. So
Okay.
so I'll be interested to see if we get any more Falcons on the list because I think those three were top. Were a lock.
Yeah.
Um,
I still like I think the only at this point I would personally still put Grady Jarrett in there, but I'm
oh
not
yeah,
sure if he's gonna. I'm not sure if he's gonna make it.
yeah, especially
Uh,
with being injured last year,
yeah,
and
but I still think Bajan Robinson might actually make it.
he might. JRC Dre says you sound like me earlier in the show wanting a high priced Justin Simmons to replace Richie with the Winkus Link Grant. Yeah, like, I would love to throw Justin Simmons in there beside um Jesse Bates, and let the defensive back masterminds have a ball with Simmons and Simmons and Bates in the backfield. That would be a ton of fun to me.
It
But I
would.
think I think you're going to get a more of a combination of Grant and Helms and back there with
Yeah,
Bates. I think.
I think you're right. I think they like the guys they've got back because they've said. I was listening to not the Falcons Audible podcast, but a different, but the other one they have,
Mhm.
and like they made the point of saying like anytime it has come up about the secondary this off season, anytime Coach Morris has basically come out and said, like, we like the guys we have back
Right.
there. Like,
And
we like those guys.
right.
So it would not surprise me in the slightest that there's no moves for another safety. There's no moves
Another
for another
corner.
corner
Yep.
or anything like that.
They're just gonna let Mike Hughes and Clark Phillips and D. Alford and DeMarco Helms and Richie Grant just slug it out, and they figure that you've got two alphas in AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates, and that's enough resources in the secondary to be able to make everything else work around it. So
Yeah. Well, and I think you'll have Alfred will come in. He'll be your nominal nickelback.
I think so.
I think it does. I think it is between Hughes and Clark Phillips on the outside, opposite Terrell. And then I think the fight is as far as the strong safety spot goes is between Helms and Grant, and whichever one doesn't get the starting, quote unquote, starting slot will be the third safety in a big nickel situation, which I think Grant really does well in because that means he's closer to the line of scrimmage. And the closer he is to the line of scrimmage, the better off he is.
Mm-hmm.
When you get him out into open spaces is where he has his
and maybe
issues.
in like more of a zone heavy scheme that they are presumably going to run. Maybe Grant gets a little bit more comfortable versus the man heavy scheme that Nielsen ran.
Maybe.
All right, folks. I think that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate y'all joining us, and we will see y'all again next Tuesday as we actually have camp things to talk about. Then we'll have some good stuff. Dre's over here wishing for the moon, talking about I want to trade for Patrick Surtain. Yeah, I would love to trade for Patrick Surtain too. But anyway, all right, folks. Like I said, we appreciate y'all as always. Y'all can follow me on the Twix. I'm at Grim1128. Jonathan.
At Jonathan M. Holder. Come by, say hi.
There you go. Remember, 17th, we'll remind you again next week, but we'll be down at Benchwarmers. Well, there'll be an event at Benchwarmers. I'm not going to guarantee that either me or Jonathan will be there, but if I can make it, I will be. And y'all definitely come by and hang out. Anyway, we appreciate y'all, folks. Catch you later. Peace.
Rise up.
There it is. Rise up.